So let's take a few moments to settle into a comfortable seated position where you've got your feet flat on the floor. If the feet don't comfortably land on the ground, if the chair is too big for you, then, bring something under your feet. Folded blanket, pillow, anything like that. If your chair is too small for you and you notice your knees up higher than your hips, then you'll want to bring something underneath your bum to sit up a little taller. So then we can just take a bit of time to settle our body into the support of the chair, down through the hips and thighs, and resting the back into the backrest as you like. But also staying in tune with, finding your best posture today with a bit of space and lift through the chest, maybe encouraging the shoulders to settle down the back away from the ears. And that way we can feel the head nice and light, lengthening a little more through the back of your neck, up through the base of your skull. So that means the chin might lower just slightly to find that space in the back of the neck. And then feel free, as you rest here, close your eyes or just allow the gaze to soften as you start to become more conscious of the breath, drawing your awareness inward. So you can sense each inhale as it moves into your body, and sense each exhale, feel the breath as it leaves your body. Noticing how you're feeling today, any areas speaking to you. And keep coming back to feeling each breath as you give it some time and some space to slow down, to find a steadier pace. And to allow for the space inside your body to soften to the movements of your breath. So with each inhale, can you draw your awareness further down into your belly? So that with each inhale, you find a little more movement, expanding the belly, the waist, the lower ribs. And then with each exhale, feel that sense of narrowing, drawing in through the belly, letting go of the breath slowly and completely. So as you follow the path of the inhale, moving down, feel how your belly expands, feel how your ribs expand. That's all to accommodate the movement of the diaphragm, drawing the breath further into the lungs. And with each exhale, as the diaphragm draws back up, helping to push out all the breath, the abdominal organs settle back in, drawing the belly in slightly, feeling the lungs empty. So we can think of the inhale as having the direction of moving down, but also out into the sides and the front and the back of the body. And then with the exhale, we can sense the direction drawing back in towards the center and up, leaving through the nose. Each inhale, let it connect you with the chair, down into your hips, as the breath draws down into your body. And each exhale as the breath moves out and back up, we can feel the connection with the space above us, letting our spine grow a little taller with each exhale. So as we follow a few more cycles of breath here, just try to envision that movement of the inhale, drawing down into the body, feeling that gentle sense of expansion outwards, connecting us with the ground or the support under us, the chair. And then with each exhale, as the breath draws back up and out through the nose, we feel a little more connection with the sky above us, lifting taller into that space. And then let's little by little start to bring our awareness out again, sensing the room around us as we continue to sense the body and the breath. Taking in a couple of deeper breaths, helping to energize yourself here as we flutter the eyes open when you're ready. All right, so let's come towards the front of the seat. And let's feel a little bit of movement here in our feet to begin with today. So as we're sitting up on the sitting bones here, trying to sit towards the edge of the chair helps to find both sitting bones into the floor. Our spine is nice and tall. We can just feel how our feet are somewhere underneath our knees, and we can rock up onto our toes, go down to the heels, lift, and then curl the toes towards the floor before you let them rest back to the ground, lifting the heels again. So feeling those movements and noticing maybe when you lift your heels here, where does the weight want to go in your feet? You know, does the weight want to roll out to the outer edges? Does it want to roll in? See if you can keep, as best you can, a sense of evenness from big toe mound to baby toe mound as you lift. So for me, I have the tendency to kind of want to roll out to those outer edges. So I've got to just keep some awareness of weight rolling into those big toe mounds. And that way you'll get a little more bend in that big toe mound. Of course, just find where it's comfortable for you. Meaning you're maybe lifting your heel a lot or a little for less bend, right? So let's go for one more. I'm forgetting to curl the toes when I lift them. So we get that movement in both directions through the toe joints, right? That's it. Good. And then let's rest our feet back to the floor. And I'm just gonna give you a little side view for this. So with our feet planted under our knees, even though we're sitting, we can still kind of feel the support of our feet. So anytime, you know, when we're doing the chair practice, we want to feel this weight distributed from sitting bones into those 2 points and down into our feet as well. So we're feeling the weight through the legs and feet, the strength and support of them, as well as our sitting bones. So maybe let's first just find a little bit of movement in our pelvis to feel where our sitting bones land. So try to curl your tailbone more towards your knees, so you're more sitting on your tailbone. This is going to round your back, right? And then try to tip your pelvis forward by pushing tailbone back, bringing, you know, pubic bone, navel more towards the space between the thighs down. And then we hug in a little more through the front, round more into our back by curling our tailbone towards our knees. So try to feel those movements, tipping your pelvis forward and back. And so noticing that you're not doing the movement from up here, your shoulders, but more from down in the pelvis. That's it. It might be helpful to bring your hands to the hip bones, the pelvic bones, and feel how they move forward as your tailbone points back. Feel how those front hips move back as your tailbone curls forward, right? And you'll be able to feel, especially if you're on a fairly firm chair, the sitting bones moving. You're kind of going up and over the tips and sort of peaks of your sitting bones. And then try to land where you feel like you're not tipping forward, nor are you tipping back. So find that middle center point for yourself, whatever that happens to be. And try to land into that and notice how your spine lands in more of that neutral curve rather than rounding or arching, okay? And then with that, can we push more into our feet? And as we stand more weight into our feet, can we feel how that brings a little more strength all the way up into our legs? You might be able to kind of push through one foot if you want, and then push through the other foot. And just with your hands resting on your thighs, you'll be able to feel how those muscles start to contract as you press your feet, your foot into the floor a little more. And then try to find that even equal weight through both feet, pushing down into them. And, as you still settle your weight into your sitting bones, and you'll feel your spine lift a little taller. All right. So from here, let's move a little bit through the whole spine. Let's go ahead and push into our feet as we open up the chest, lift the tailbone back and look up. And then again, we're going to roll, curl tailbone towards knees as we round the spine. So find these movements similar to what we just did, but now we're letting our whole spine and our shoulders go along for the ride. Okay, initiating the movement still through the pelvis. So I like to exhale here when I'm rounding the back, pulling in through the belly, pushing back through the back ribs, and then inhale, lift and lengthen through the front, open the chest, look up. That's it. Feel the movements of the shoulder blades too. Shoulders rounding forward, and then shoulder blades pulling back a bit towards each other. All right. And then let's press into our feet and lift the spine up through center with the arms overhead. And then we're going to exhale, take the hands down through center, come halfway forward. So we're trying to move forward from our hips rather than rounding our spine. So that means you're kind of pushing tailbone back towards the back of the chair and pushing a little more now into your feet. So let's open up the arms wide. Feel the inhale here. And then as you exhale, let's rest. Forearms on thighs, or you could slide your hands further down your legs. The idea is to try to feel a bit of a stretch going on into your back, keeping it nice and comfortable. Let's feel another breath here. And then use the strength of your legs to help you come up. So push down into your feet and then lift the spine up through center, arms up overhead. As we exhale, we're going to go to the right. We're going to take it into a side bend. Right arm can come down, left arm arcs over. Comfortable stretch through the left side. You got it. And then let the breath take you back up through center. Now let's lower the left arm. The hand can come to the chair or just dangle down, what lets you feel best here. Stretching into the right side. Really good. Feel the inhale take you back up, and exhale the hands down through center. So we're right up on our sitting bones still, feeling the support of the feet. Let's go for one more of those, shall we? Inhale, pushing into the feet, lift the spine, lift the arms. Exhale, we could take the hands wide. As the arms go wide, we're kind of forward, right? We're loading a little more into our feet. So can we push into our feet? Feel that strength back through the thighs. As we bring our arms even a tiny bit wider, We'll find some strength into our back here. Let's feel one more inhale. And then exhale, fold forward. So again, forearms can relax on the thighs. Hands might be able to slide further down. Just feel what's comfortable in your body right now. And maybe this time, see if you can release the head a tiny bit more. Yeah, tuck the chin down, maybe nod the head gently. Little nods, yes and no, to loosen into the very base of the skull. Great. And then again, pressing into your feet, using the support of your legs to help you come up, open and lift the arms. Let's go to the left first. Left arm down, right arm stretching up as we settle still into that right hip. So you don't want to go so far that you're lifting off your right hip, right? You got it. As you inhale, come back up through center. And let's go over to the right, sending the length through the left side as we stay resting into that left hip. Good. Feel the inhale take you back up. And we'll exhale, the hands come down through center. And then, yeah, just feel a moment to pause. You could relax the hands, noticing how you feel here. Okay, so we're going to explore a bit of core support. So let's maybe take the hands onto the belly, and we'll explore this core support with a bit of breath help. So feeling your feet under the knees, feeling your weight resting into your sitting bones, so your shoulders are above the hips, with your hands on the belly. So, you could keep them separate. Open the palms and rest them on the belly. Or if you'd rather, you could just take a pillow on your belly and rest that against your belly as well. Whatever you're most comfortable doing. And the idea is to relax your belly. Feel the inhale come in and down, expanding that space. And then as you exhale, we're going to make a sh sound. So when you're ready for it, and just keep it going as long as it goes naturally. And notice what goes on in and around the belly as you shh. And try maybe 2 more times. So let the inhale come, letting the belly relax. As you do it one more time, see if you can just notice if any tension comes into your shoulders or neck, and see if you can keep those areas soft. And notice what goes on in the muscles around the belly, or how the belly responds. So I like this showing sound on the exhale because it naturally lengthens the exhale, which is nice. And it also naturally sort of finds a little bit of that support through the belly, right? You can feel the belly very gently, gradually narrowing. So it's not about pulling navel to spine, anything like that. It's much more subtle. So see if you can sort of get a sense of that same action going on in the belly, and feel free to make that sh sound anytime you want to find that again. So that we're going to try to maintain that action of the belly while we continue to breathe and lift one foot at a time. So here we're asking for some of that support to remain around the middle, even with the inhale, so we're not letting things relax completely on the inhale anymore. But we're trying to still feel the breath moving. So you relax as much as you need to let the breath in. Finding a little more of that support perhaps with each exhale. So you could match this movement with your breath. Exhaling when you lift your leg. Inhaling when you lower it if you wanted. So the idea is we're trying to minimize the movement in our upper body. So notice if you're sort of having to lean back or lean off to the side, you could lean back a little bit and just stay there to create more space for this movement. The idea is to try to feel stable and still in the upper body while we're lifting one knee at a time. All right, good. Last one. And then relax and let that go and just soften the belly. And again, feel the breath move down and letting it go slowly. Okay, so then let's explore more movement in just one leg at a time. So as we push down into our left foot, feeling now the support into our left foot a little more, into our sitting bones, finding that support across the belly. We can lift the right foot any amount. Doesn't have to be high because we're going to try to stretch and bend through this knee. And all the while, trying to stay strong and long through the belly, trying to feel the spine tall. You got it. Shoulders doing less. Hands can be anywhere at all. Hands could even be on your chair for a little extra support. This is good. Yeah. That's it. Pushing through the heel in front when you stretch the leg. Let's next time stretch and hold that and see if you can feel as you push the heel further forward, kneecap kind of pulls up. We find a little more strength into this quadriceps muscles. And then lower the foot to the floor so we've got the heel down. All right, let's point and flex the foot. So you can do this with the heel staying on the ground. You could also, when you bring your toes down, try to lift the heel. So you're going to find more stretch into the top of the foot and the front of the ankle. So if it doesn't lift, that's perfectly fine. You've just noticed, where your limit is. And for many of us, we're quite tight in the top of the foot and the front of the ankle. All right. And then see if you can circle your foot now, drawing the circle with your toes, letting your toes dance around. And you could do this still with your heel on the ground, if that feels better in your hip, or lifting your foot just slightly off the ground. You'll find you'll obviously be using a little more strength there. So go in the other direction as well. Can you still feel the support of your left foot that's on the ground as you're circling into your right? Really nice. And then bring that foot back to the floor underneath the hip and feel free to massage a little bit into your thigh, into those front thigh muscles or back into the hip, wherever it is you might have felt some of that work for yourself. Okay. And then finding again where your sitting bones have landed. Try to shift your weight in the middle, off your tailbone, lifting tall through the spine as we push into our right foot. Let the left foot lift just enough to be able to stretch and bend this left knee. You could also combine it with a push of the heel when you stretch at the leg and a pointing the toes when you bend the knee, so you get a little movement into the foot too. That's it. And just, finding your comfortable range. Does the leg want to straighten all the way? And if not, that's okay too. How much does this knee bend comfortably? Good. Let's go for one more full movement here. Holding on as you wish with your hands. Last one, we're going to stretch and hold that leg any height, right, off the floor that you can manage to hold here for another full breath or two, pushing through the heel, feeling the kneecap pull back. You got it. And then lower the heel down. Whew. And point the toes. And then reach through the heel. So there's a difference between pulling the toes back versus pushing the heel forward. And just see if you can explore that for yourself. It's sort of when we emphasize pulling the toes back, we might emphasize more the movement in the toes rather than the ankle. Whereas when we push the heel forward, you might feel a little more stretch going on in the back of your calf, right? In the Achilles tendons. Yeah, and less toe action. That's good. All right, and then let's circle. As we circle the ankle, you could choose to hover your foot, finding a little more strength going on in this hip, but if that doesn't feel good in the hip, just keep the heel down as you circle the ankle. Toes can dance around and go in the other direction. All the while keeping a connection with the spine's length tall, with the support of that right foot pressing into the ground. Nice. All right, and then let's rest that foot back to the floor underneath the knee and just rub it out through the thigh or back into that hip. Okay, let's go for a little more hip movement now. So this one's a little trickier. Let's just maybe first find gentle windshield wiper, butterfly flutter. I like to call this one. Knees opening and closing as we roll out on our baby toes and roll in towards our big toes. That's it. So getting some movement into the hips primarily, a little bit into the ankles perhaps too. Okay. And then let's once again stand into our left foot as we lift our right foot off the floor. So what we're going to do is try to keep the knee bent at 90 degrees. So this foot's going to stay right underneath the knee. And we're going to be moving more from our hip to swing the leg a little off to the side and then back in towards the other leg. That's it. So noticing however much movement you have without turning the pelvis. So pubic bone, navel, continue to face forward. Notice if there's any tendency to kind of lead with your foot, which is more knee movement and sort of different hip movement. And see if you can lead like you're pushing with your outer knee out to the side and back in. You got it. However much movement there is without moving anything else in your body except the breath. Good. All right, and then lower that. And again, just massage and take a moment noticing where you felt that in this side. And this time, as we stand our weight into our right foot, let's lift the left. Just hovered slightly off the ground, just enough to be able to move this leg out to the left and back in. So, I notice a difference right away in each side. I sort of hit a wall pretty quickly on this side. It doesn't want to go any further. So the range of motion for me on this hip is a little less. So listening to those differences in each side, right? And feeling how you're moving from your hip with your foot staying right underneath the knee. Just this glide out and in. That's it. Can we keep that connection of support broad and lifted through the belly? Pubic bone, navel staying pointing straight ahead as we're feeling these movements in our hip. Whoo! Really nice. Last two. And then bring it back and massage it out. So now let's go ahead and find a slightly different movement in our hips, finding more inward rotation. So let's begin with our knees and toes pointing forward. And basically our knees are going to stay put straight ahead from your hips. And what you're going to do is take your right foot out to the side, keeping that foot pretty flexed. So you're rolling onto the inner edge of the foot a little more, and that knee's going to move in more. Okay, and then back in. Left foot out and in. So Noticing now that I'm not moving so much knee out to the side, but more foot out to the side, and the knee points forward. So we're finding a little bit of this inward rotation that goes on into our hip and a little bit of movement through knee. So how does this feel on each leg? All right. It's kind of a funny movement. One more on each side. All right, and then let that go. Last one, that's going to take us into a seated position. We're going to step our right foot out to the side, and let's just keep it like that. So what I'm going to do is come more towards the corner of the chair, the right corner, and have that right foot facing off to the right as the left knee and foot are still kind of facing more forward. Doesn't have to be exact, okay? So find where your hips want to land, where your feet want to feel the ground, where they can sense the floor with support. Turn your upper body to face your left leg straight ahead. And then let's bring our palms together here in front of the heart. We haven't done a whole lot of movement in the arms yet today, so let's open up the arms wide, pushing them back, and then keep the spine where it is, and just take the hands together again in front. Opening, breathing in, closing, breathing out. That's it. Next time we open the arms, let's keep them here, and we're going to find a little movement side to side. So let's first go to the right, taking maybe this forearm to rest on the thigh, while we send the other arm up just as high as feels comfortable. And then we're going to go down over to our left, so we could take this left hand to the chair and stretch the other arm up. Leaning to the right, lifting the left arm, leaning to the left, lifting the right arm. That's it. Just find the range that's feeling good in each side body here, in each shoulder. The arm doesn't have to lift that high, okay? Take your time, feel it one more in each direction. And then maybe let's hold this side bend over to the right. So forearm, as it lands on your thigh, see if rather than sinking into it, you can kind of feel like you're trying to lift your shoulder, your upper body a little bit off of that thigh as you push more down into it with your right arm. And then sending this left arm up at any height at all. Out at shoulder height, reaching overhead. Anything there. Where does it feel good for you to pause and breathe? Really nice. And then let's take it back upright. Find your shoulders above your hips. Reach the arms open to the sides, and let's gaze beyond the right hand as we keep a sense of our left arm reaching in the opposite direction. One more breath here. Very good. Rest the arms. Whew. And let's bring our right foot in. Maybe go over to the other side if you want, to the left corner of the chair. It's up to you. So this time, we're going to have our left foot pointing more off to the left. And we're going to turn our upper body more to the right to face our right knee and toes more pointing in front of us. Okay? So once again, let's have the hands in front. As we inhale, open the arms like your palms are pushing to the wall behind you a bit. As you exhale, gently press the hands together. Feel the breath in and feel the breath out. One more. Lovely. And then let's open up the arms and we'll start moving side to side. Let's first go to the left. Send the right arm up comfortably. And then take the right hand down to the chair and lean into that as you stretch a little more into the left side. Take your time moving side to side. Couple more times. Really good. How does it feel through each side of the body? Okay, and then let's take it to the left and we'll stay here. So rest your weight into your left forearm, but also feel like you're pushing your thigh away as you stretch comfortably through this side. So this side could feel a little different in the shoulder, different through the side ribs, side waist. Let's feel the breath there. And then when you're ready, use your feet here too, right? Pushing into your feet to come up. Chest open to the sides, sending the arms out as we gaze beyond the left hand. Feel the right arm stretching back for another breath. All right, let it go. Release the arms. Bring that left foot. You could also just walk it in. Back to center. Whew. All right. Now let's explore a couple sit to stand. So you could either sit straight ahead on your chair or go back to a corner. And let's bring the feet probably a little wider than hip distance. Turning your knees and toes out while you walk your heels back a tiny bit more. So my heels are a little bit behind the knees. Just go as far as you go without your heels lifting, okay? So you want to feel the support of your feet here because we're going to use them to come on up without the support of the hands as much as possible. So see if you can feel your belly stay long, chest wide as you lean forward a bit, pushing more into your feet. And then lean back, more weight comes into your seat. Just sense that. And as you lean forward, can you push down more into your feet, right? As they press the floor away from you, you'll end up lifting up, perhaps slightly off your chair, finding a little bounce as you return back to the seat. So this requires some knee bending, hip bending, and of course leg strength, right? So feel your head and chest facing forward. The mistake we often make here is looking down. And when we come up, if our head is going down, we're a lot more likely to kind of, go to the floor instead of lift away from the floor. So find that for yourself one more time. And then the last time we do it, just catch the breath if you need it. We're going to pause and hover. So push down into your feet. Use the momentum as much as you need, right? To find that hover and take a moment there. Finding your hips still reaching down towards the seat as your chest is light. You could have the hands together here in front of the heart if you wanted. Beauty. Then start to push down into your feet as we come up. Woo, and just send the hips a little side to side. Little sway. That's it. All right. So maybe at first, let's find a little bit of movement into both our ankles and our knees. You can hold on to the back of the chair as you like, and we'll come right up onto our toes. Feel the weight across the pads of your feet from big toe mound to baby toe mound. And then slowly lower the heels. And then as we keep our heels down, let's bend our knees straight forward. So the idea is to go as far down as you can comfortably go without your heels lifting, and keeping your hips over your heels. And then pushing down into your feet as we come on up again to the toes. So heels lower, knees bend straight ahead. And then back up onto the toes. So keeping in mind, maybe just taking a look at your knees when they do bend, and do they have any tendency to kind of fall in towards each other like this? And see if you can keep your knees pointing straight ahead, more with your middle toes, say, something like that. Keeping the weight as even as you can through toes, down into the center of each heel. That's it. Good, let's do one more. We're gonna maybe hold that squat where our knees are forward of our hips. pushing down into our heels still. So the depth of the squat could look different for you, perfectly fine. Really nice. And then stand up again. And enjoy that relief. Okay. So we're gonna step our foot, maybe we'll step our right foot up onto the chair and or the stool or ottoman or anything that's a little lower, right? And so if you're doing that, what I'd suggest is like having the chair beside you to hold on to, okay? All right, so yeah, if your right foot is up on the stool, you might want something to hold on to beside you to your left or to the right, doesn't really matter. And if you're using the chair, I like to use it sideways so you have the back of the chair to rest your other hand on, okay? So as we stand more weight into our left foot and step our right foot up, we want to first, land our foot into the middle of that so that it's not going to tip. So find that out for yourself. And then, can we just take a moment to feel the back leg, the one that's still on the floor, pushing down into that heel. Tailbone is heavy towards the floor. Pubic bone maybe lifts a little taller. As we send our hips forward, we're going to bend more into this front knee. So you determine how much of a bend feels best. And then we can push down into that foot to come back. And more weight lands into our back heel. And the whole time we're really keeping the push of this back heel down, even when our hips come forward, and then pushing into that left foot to help us come back. So find that little bit of glide forward and back, bending more into the front knee, bending less into the front knee, right? As our hips move forward and as our hips move back. Really good. And then next time you bend into that front knee, let's hold. So how far forward does it feel good to stay? Could be slightly forward of that back foot, could be quite a bit forward of the back foot. Where can you be with your heel still pushing into the floor and with some comfort as we bend deeper into this front knee? Let's maybe send one arm, whichever arm is free, out to the side. Turn that palm to face up. And then send it, if you like, right up to the sky. Feel another breath where you are, pushing strongly into both feet. Really good. And then press more into that foot that's up on the chair to come back. Lower the arm. Step the foot down. Just take a moment. How does each leg feel now and around your hips and knees? Come back to sense a full breath, slower, smoother, slowing it down. So I like to have the back of the chair for my opposite hand to rest on. So you're either stepping left foot up on stool or the seat of the chair, so wherever this hip, right, and this knee can tolerate, however much height and bend this hip and knee feel best in, okay? So feeling and finding, that optimum position of your foot on your object where it's not going to tip, where you can also feel the support of your back foot. So I just had to hop around a little bit. So standing into your back foot, your hips are facing straight ahead, head stays right up above the hips, and we're going to move with the hips forward and back, right? As our hips go further forward, our front knee can bend a little more. We can push down into our front foot to bring us back. Forward, pushing into our back heel. You might notice a good stretch coming into that calf. As we keep the back heel down and our hips move forward, how are things feeling in the knee, in the front of that right hip? Just taking a note that the movement is coming from hips and knee rather than spine. So rather than moving shoulders and head forward, we're trying to lead with our pelvis going forward. Any amount, right? So finding the range. So this is a nice way to just kind of find these gliding movements, right? These nice smooth bending and straightening of the knee with a bit of load into that foot. Yeah? So nice movements for the joints in the knee, the ankle, and the hip. All right, and then next time we bend into that front knee more, moving our hips forward, what feels best on this side to hold? What depth of movement? Pushing back into the right heel as we keep that left foot pressing into our support. We could send the other arm out to the side, up overhead, where feels best for you to pause for another breath here. Excellent, everyone. Really good. Let's come on back. Woo! And step the foot down. So how are things feeling in each hip, each knee, each foot now? Really good. All right, let's find a nice stretch for our back in downward dog. You could either bring your hands to the seat of the chair, palms flat or holding on to the edge, or if you want a little less depth, have the hands on the back of the chair. And wherever your hands are, keep them there and walk your feet back until the feet are somewhere underneath your hips. You keep a little bend in those knees as you push forward and down through the hands. See if you can feel your hips reach back. So it becomes more of a backside stretch. Where do you feel it in your body? You might feel this in the hamstring muscles, behind the thighs. If you feel it around the backs of the knees, I suggest bending them a little more. You might also feel this stretch coming through your back. So let's breathe into the sensations we're feeling here. Really good. Lots of space is going on around our shoulders as well. You might feel some sensation here. One more breath where you are. Okay, and then let's go ahead and slowly walk our feet forward. Standing tall again, coming up with the shoulders over the hips, over the feet. Okay, wonderful. All right, let's find our seat again. We're going to find our seat again. Planting our feet into the ground. Let's come again into a slightly wider stance. Okay, so feel free to come more towards the corner of the chair if that feels more stable for you, or just towards the front edge. And can you feel your feet and your knees pointing in the same direction as you find that wider stance, whatever that means for you, where your knees are pointing out with your toes? And can you walk your feet back in towards your hips, as far back as your knees comfortably let you, and where you can keep your heels down into the floor? Okay? So push back through the heels as you feel your knees point forward, coming forward slightly. You got it. Finding a little bit of this forward bend where we can load our feet a little more. So as we press into our feet, Let's take the hands together in front of the heart. That's it. Try to keep the chest lifting away from the thighs. That's it. Maybe even pull the shoulders back and down a little more. You got it. Really loading up the legs isometrically here. You should be able to feel that pretty quickly as we press into our feet and feel like we're about to stand up, but we're not going to. Feel one more breath. Whoo. All right, and then come on back upright. This time maybe placing the feet more under the knees rather than slightly behind, so we can fold forward more easily, more in a relaxed way now, so we're not pushing the feet into the floor anymore as much. And then this is more about stretch. We could slide our hands down our legs if there's any further room to stretch into this position, or keep the forearms on the thighs. That's it. So let's notice some sensation here through inner thighs, through hips, through back, as we sense each breath. And then you could walk your hands, if they're low, you could walk them back up towards your thighs as you press your feet into the floor. Use their support to come on up slowly back to sitting tall. Just come back, notice if you feel dizzy or see stars, and just take a bit of time to catch the breath, reorient, and walk the feet in. Okay, let's bring now the right foot up. As we hold on to our right leg anywhere at all, let's find a little movement into our hip. So this movement could be small circles, could be more just, side to side or up and down. All the while feeling how the other foot is supporting us. Left foot stays into the ground as we maybe circle the other way too. Good. All right, and then let's see if we can hug the knee up any higher so that we might be able to cross our ankle over our knee. If we can't quite do that, you can straighten your left leg so the knee is a little lower to cross the foot onto, below it or above it. Okay, find the angle that works in this hip and knee. And while we've got the foot here, let's find again just a bit of movement into our ankle. We could even try to bring our fingers between our toes. Get a little more space there as we circle the ankle in each direction. So already, if we've got our hand there, fingers between the toes, we've already leaned forward a bit. You might have felt that in your right hip. So we could keep this foot flexed as we fold further forward for more stretch if you're wanting that. You could keep the hands, the fingers as best you want between the toes, trying to get them, wiggle them down towards the base of the toes as much as your toes let you. Maybe it's just your fingertips, right? It's all good. Wonderful, everyone. Let's come on back upright. Release the foot back down. Taking the foot, I like to take the foot off to the side a bit and do that rolling in of the knee and then rolling out of the knee. So you might want to lift your heel for this one and just kind of pivot on the big toe to move knee out, move knee in. Yeah, loosening into that hip. Lovely. And then let that go. Resting the foot down as we lift the other knee now. Find a little bit of movement through this hip. Any size movement. Small, large, anything in between. Loosening into this hip. Feeling the movements in each direction. As you continue to sense each breath. So then we can try to hug this knee up a little higher, so we find maybe a deeper bend in our hip and our knee so that we can cross our ankle over our leg. Below the knee, we could stretch the leg further out or above the knee, okay? And then again, we could try to take our other hand, fingers in between the toes. This foot for me has less space, so it's a little tighter. As you circle again into the ankle, find a little movement there. That's it. So staying as far forward as this hip takes you without rounding the back, right? Or if it's a quite intense stretch, just stay a little more upright. Let's follow where the breath moves as we also feel our fingers wiggling towards the base of the toes. All right, making your way back upright again. We can release this foot down, off to the side a little bit. Lift the heel, we're rolling in on the big toe, rolling out, rolling in, rolling out. Moving here into our hip again. All right. And then let's plant our feet both into the floor. We can sit back into the chair as much as you like now. And feel both sitting bones once again. So you might shift and wiggle into each sitting bone. I like to kind of shift from one side to the other. And as you do that, you can kind of shimmy the hips a little further back towards the very back of the chair. Yeah, and that way when you lean back, your shoulders are still pretty much right above the hips. Feet are planted into the floor. Get your pillows, if you need them, under the hips or under the feet for a nice comfortable alignment as you sit here. And take a moment to let the hands rest and relax on the thighs. Feel the shoulders settle down the back as the neck finds a little more length through the back of it, out through the crown of your head. So getting a sense of your spine's length in the center. Each inhale brings you down into your support, that base of support, down through your sitting bones, down through your thighs, down even into your feet. The inhale brings you more of that connection with the earth. And the exhale gives you a little more of that space and lightness, lifting your spine a little taller, bringing you that connection with the sky above. So feel free to feel those connections with each breath as you rest here. And then once again, come back to sense your body resting here, your feet sensing the ground, deepening the breath slowly, and letting the eyes open when you feel ready. Starting to move a little more, maybe into your hands, opening and closing them a few times. as you find a little movement into the toes. Good. And then let's take one last breath together. We'll inhale, send the arms up, sweeping the arms overhead. And with the exhale, let's take the hands down through center in front of the heart. Taking a moment to bow down to your practice today. Thanks for being here. Namaste.